I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is now 6 o'clock. Today is Thursday, August 30th, 2018. First thing on the agenda is the roll call. Trustee Denton is absent. She texted me a little while ago, so she won't be here. Trustee Muhammad and myself is still enough for a quorum. So Trustee Muhammad and Trustee Pearson here. We're going to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'll say the prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to have this meeting. Let us have this meeting in accordance to your direction. Let it be a peaceful meeting and the will of the people. And thanks for your grace and glory. And I ask for your prayers for all the shut-in and all that needs prayer today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, we're going to put that on silent. She's asking your prayer. That is. All right, sorry about that, everybody. All right, the first thing on the agenda is hiring 2 full-time police officers. This was put in the budget, and we took a phone consensus, and I was informed later that this must be an official vote at the board meeting, so we're having a committee meeting to make it officially where it went through committee. And so without further ado, I'd like to make a motion to hire 2 full-time police officers. Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, moving on to new business. We have a firefighter retiring by the name of Marino, and we again took a phone consensus to hire and replace him. We had enough votes. So we want to move that. That's on next Monday's agenda, but we want to approve it at the committee level. And therefore, I'd like to make a motion to hire a firefighter to replace the retiree. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Moving to item B, possible ways to cut fire department budget towards the 10% budget reduction request. That is a request that was made by the board at the appropriation budget meeting, board meeting where the budget was passed. So I'd like to call on Chief Dyer to talk about the possible ways to cut the budget to get to that 10%.
So our budget is at close to $3 million, and 10% of that would be $300,000. So having said that, it's going to be kind of hard to get that $300,000, but some of the things we've been looking at, when we go to fires in town or out of town, we have a recall. We call it a general alarm, and we just want to make sure we're not mismanaging that money in those hours. So from July 1st to June 30th, we had 180 hours of recall.
Could you explain so the audience know what you mean by recall and a general alarm? So they know exactly.
Okay, a general alarm. What happens is on an out-of-town fire, we send the tower ladder, the truck, out of town. So that leaves us with one apparatus here. So when the truck gets out of town and there is in fact a fire, what they do is call a general alarm. What that does is that calls the off-duty firemen back to the firehouse. It's not mandatory that they come. It's a voluntary action. Some come, some don't. But what we're in the process of doing, Chief Rush is in talks with Burnham, and we're going to see if Burnham can actually man our station when the guys are out of town. So that would cut down on them coming back. And we also, you know, the officers, the firefighters, when they go out of town, they call a general alarm. We're going to make it so as only myself and Chief Rush on a certain basis, we'll be able to call a general alarm. Just because they go out of town and they have a fire doesn't mean we will automatically have one if we have Burnham come to town. Now, if we have a fire in town, it's a general alarm automatically instated in that alarm. So what happens is both our apparatuses are busy. They call a general alarm. It's already, they call for a working fire. It's already installed in there. So the general is already initiated, but we're going to take that out because we get a change of quarters company. Now, if we start getting extra ambulances runs, or if we think we might need help, him or I or our designee will call for the general alarm. It's just not going to be automatic anymore. That's what we're going to try to instate, change it around a little bit. So that's one of the things, because like I said, we had 180 hours from
July 1st to June 30th.
July 1st to June 30th. And that came to about $11,000 of overtime.
I couldn't wait. July 1st to June.
No, I said January. January 1st, I'm sorry. January 1st to June 30th.
How many hours?
180 for the 6 months.
And that's all at time and a half.
Time and a half.
These are all the persons who were off duty.
Yes. They automatically get 2 hours when they come back. So we're just going to try to make sure we manage those hours correctly.
So when you did your computation from January 1st to June 30th, it was nobody less than 2 hours, because that's the minimum. So some may be 2.5, 3, or
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
There were some that had 3, because if there is a fire in the village or out of the village, they have to stay until the company returns. So they automatically get the 2 hours though.
And 180 hours, so your projection is going to be, for the year would be, I'm assuming, and this is a rough shot, it's twice that. For the year would
Correct.
be approximately, what, 360?
Yes.
Okay, so what else you got, Chief?
So we also have a bit of overtime. Right now we have on our gold shift, we have 2 members that are line of duty injury, 1 officer and 1 engineer. What we want to do is maybe take one of the firemen off of another shift, have him act up as an engineer, because there's a lot of overtime on the gold shift for engineers. Gold shift from January 1st to August 23rd had 17 days where someone had overtime. Whereas if we would have moved the guy over a shift and had him act in that place as an engineer,
And that's act up.
act up,
Is it a temporary promotion, or?
it'll be temporary. We have 2 guys actually, and what happens is he gets paid 2 hours of overtime instead of the guy getting paid 24 hours of overtime for the day. So he'll get his regular pay plus 2 hours of overtime, and that should cut down. Like I said, we had 17 days on that one shift, and on the red shift we had 5 days, and some of those days we even had 3 people on overtime because we're so short-manned. So when we switch this guy, that's the importance of getting another firefighter, because we're going to have to replace him, because that would do nothing but leave them with a guy short if we did that.
Okay, and you
So-
can do that right away?
It would be better if we had that other guy before we did it, because now you take a guy from
Oh,
one shift and
Right.
put him on another, then that shift is going to be short. So on the gold shift we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engineers, and 2 of them are out. So right now we only have 3 engineers on that shift. If we move a guy and have him act up as an engineer, we'll have 4 engineers on that shift. But then they'll be short of firemen on the black shift. So if we had, hired a couple guys, we would be able to replace Marino and that fireman on the black shift, and everybody should be even. And that'll be a temporary thing.
Guy in C.
Say again.
You're talking about the next guy on the agenda. We're talking
Correct.
about an
Correct.
additional guy.
And that'll be temporary until we get the 2 firemen on the gold shift back, the lieutenant and the engineer. When they come back, the guy will go back to his regular shift. He'll go back to his regular pay until we decide we need to promote.
Okay. So you're talking about Do you have a cost on overtime savings for that?
Okay, I have a sheet that has our highest and lowest overtime paid this quarter or this pay period, and the highest was $63 a member. And I took that number, I times it by the 17 days of overtime, which would be 24 times 17. And let me just get that, 24 times 17, which gave me 408 hours. Multiply that by 63.74, and that gave me 26,000. That's $26,000 that we may have saved if we moved that guy to another shift and had him act in that capacity,
For that one shift,
just for that one shift for the year.
one person.
What do you mean, that one person? I mean, he can save. He's going to be off some of those days, but for the most part, he's going to save, and that's just from January 1st to now. Approximately $26,000. Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, we'll also have to hire somebody to replace him on his shift, and we still need the replacement on the red shift
All right.
because he's going to come from the black shift.
Right now, you're talking about, with the first item we discussed, about 22,000 a year. And with this item, you're already at 26,000, and you still got the rest of the year. So it could be probably another near half of that. So you got 22,000,
So we got 4 more months.
you got 4 more months.
So so I'd say another
A third,
Yeah,
yeah.
so of that.
Question, the 22,000, you multiplying the 360 hours by something?
No, the 22,000 is up here where we had 180 hours.
Of the recall of the
Right now, he had 11,000 for 6 months, and we
Right.
said we'd double that and
Right.
get to 22,000.
right.
And now he's at 26,000 for the second item that he talked about. We got another 4 months, so a third of that would probably put us
39,000,
39,000.
39 or $40,000.
Okay,
So that puts us at about 60, but not close to the 300.
right.
But that's a big
Now, was that it for the savings towards the 10% budget reduction?
yeah, it's about as much as we could come up with so far.
Okay, but now we need to take in item C, which is the next item, request to hire a second firefighter.
Well, the reason for that, so we're already replacing one that's retiring. That
Right,
that
that's
has to be
already-
done.
That's just a swap.
Exactly. So now we have 2 guys that are line of duty, and at this point we only have 20. So we'll have 20 members replacing Marino. Every shift should be at 21 at least. If we get them all at 21, that would cut down the overtime. By putting one of the firemen on the gold shift as an engineer, we'd have to replace him because now they go down to where is he at? They go down to 5.
Okay.
And other shifts would have 7 or so. 2 shifts would have.
What's the cost of hiring a new firefighter?
1 second.
Oh, so Marino's a lieutenant.
He's about, what, 100 a year?
How much is, yeah, about what's their salary though?
I'm not sure. But I can tell you that the cost of hiring one new member is $85,000.
85.
That's uniform, Medicare, health benefits, and salary.
But Marino's salary you just gave me, that's not including
No.
benefits.
Marino salary?
Yeah.
We're just trying to do a
All right. Gotcha.
Okay, so the base, it's about 90. What's the insurance, benefits cost?
Health benefits, $28,000.
So you're talking 118,000. So replacing it with two, you could basically get two. No, you can't get two out of his salary, but with the 118, you said about 85,000 for a new firefighter.
Now, what's going to happen eventually? Might as well, just put this out there. We're going to have to promote. We haven't had a test yet, but we're going to have to promote, because at that point when Marino actually leaves, we only have 5 lieutenants, and on one shift we only have 1, which will make it hard when that lieutenant is off. We're going to have somebody act up in his place. So eventually we're going to have to hire another lieutenant or promote. I shouldn't say hire, I'm sorry. We're going to have to promote another lieutenant.
So you're saying that the retiring of Marino is gonna cost some overtime
Yes.
because somebody's gonna have to act up.
They've already been doing it. That's why there was so much overtime now.
Okay.
What constitutes a promotion? What is a firefighter? How does he become promoted?
So I think our list just really exhausted. We're going to have another test. We do have a list, and I think it's only one person left on that list. I don't know if we can promote off of that list because it's expired, but we couldn't promote while Marino was still on the books. We were only allotted 6 officers, and he's still actually still on the books. So we didn't promote. We'd have to have another test and go from there.
So
But-
can you ask Dallas?
I've already talked to him.
Commissioner Dallas?
I've already talked to him.
That list?
Off of that list,
Yeah.
I can ask him.
Okay. I don't know that we can, but
Right,
This is not expired, is it?
it is.
but it takes quite a while for another list.
Right, and the thing was, like I said, even though he's out on sick leave, he's still holding that salary. So we couldn't promote while he was still, because we only allotted the 6 lieutenants.
Okay, so once Marino retires, the way I'm understanding it, his salary minus a new hire salary, you're still short 33,000, but with the 39 that we're gonna make and the 22 that we get back, we won't have to increase the budget. It's just that the savings will be a little lower than we thought, because right now you have 39,000 and 22,000. That's
Right.
61,000 of potential savings.
Correct.
So we, with 118 minus 85, is 33. You take that out of the 61, so you still have a savings if we hire 2 firefighters.
Correct.
So I'm okay with that. That would have to be something that the full board would have to vote on, and right now it's not on the September 4th agenda to hire 2. So we might have to
17?
put it on the second board meeting, and instead of having it as a committee meeting, we just have a regular board meeting, the second
September 17th.
meeting, September 17th.
Okay.
So it's still a savings. Matter of fact, I'm gonna add that up. So that was the savings right now towards the 300,000 is gonna end up being, after the hiring 2 firefighters, would be 28,000. So your work is cut out for you to get to that 300,000 number, but I expect overtime to go down with the 2 firefighters being hired. I mean, with that 1 extra, because it's only 1 extra.
It won't be going down that much. 300. So we really need to be at 24 firefighters. That would cut the overtime down. We're already paying out $400,000 of overtime, and we've talked about this. I mean, just because it looks right on the paper, and we can't stop. We have vacation, sick time, this time, that time, but adding 1 person won't, because we were already there. This guy that we're asking to be hired as the 21st person should already be there anyway.
Okay.
And I have a graph here.
Say something.
Oh yeah, it should. Yeah, it should say something.
we gotta eliminate that.
Right. And another thing that happens is, you know, when they work so much overtime, not trying to, you know, anything away from the firemen, but you can't be at your A game after working so many days.
Right.
And another thing that happens is for medical reasons. I mean, you know, you start cutting corners or doing shortcuts, and when you would have lifted like this, sometimes you just get tired and you lift like that and you sprain your back or anything like that. So working
How
that.
long did you say? I mean, what's the longest length somebody stayed there?
Tuesday through Sunday.
That's 6 days. 5 days, so that's 24-hour days.
We didn't get 24 and 48 off. So
So that was
No, no.
120
He's talking about
straight
in a row.
days.
She's saying in a row.
never got off.
Never got off.
Huh? That's 120 straight hours, I
He
mean.
had 135 hours of overtime, and then he was acting up because he had to actually be he's an engineer, he was acting up a few of those days as a lieutenant.
Okay.
And that's what I mean. So we're behind and we're playing catch up. So hopefully, you know.
All right, so right now what we'll do is we've approved the one hire for Marino. That's on the agenda for Monday. We will take it to the September 17th board meeting to approve the second firefighter. And we will also talk at that board meeting about additional firefighters. I don't, you know, that it calls for a budget increase, and I don't know that we can do that. Right now, there's no room in that budget for that. So maybe if there's additional savings that we can come up with by that point, towards that 300 that we were talking about, we would be able to.
Well, it's funny that you said that. Of course, we came prepared to show you some other things that
Okay.
we have. It's not going to be a savings, but it's going to be a way that we may be able to contribute, and that's with that ordinance that was passed. I think it was 18-005, with the collections on accidents and fires and those such things. So we did an analysis and came up with a couple of you want to show him, Sherry?
It's just basically what I did is I printed off our NIFLS reports, and I just went through and like, okay, from May 12th to 30, from May 12th to the 31st, I counted how many reports we had. And we have the charges that we'll be charging. So basically, this is what we came up with. I did it because the ordinance went into effect on the 12th. So for May, I did it from the 12th to the 31st, and that's what the estimate was for those 20 days of billing.
What's the percentage of collections on that?
That we don't know. We wouldn't know, but this is what we would have to bill out. Collections would be based on insurance and those things. We would have to get it going in order to start.
And
So,
remember,
and it is an estimate.
we had this other company who also
We're not billing anything.
No.
exactly. Remember, we had that company. They did 20%. So it was an estimate of 180,000, and we ended up collecting, or would have collected, 144, with them keeping 20%. But that's just an estimate of how much have been collected in the 2 months. That's $50,000.
Three more. I got 3.
So you got 17, this is June, 31,000? All right.
Yes, and July.
So far, and then July.
And I say estimate because as you bill, you have to go get more detailed. You have to pull more reports. So the reason I put the plus is because it could be more.
Okay, so for the 3 months, you're talking a total of $71,000 potential savings.
Well, that's savings.
I mean, billing, revenue. So we need to actually talk about making this happen. And what do we need to make it happen? Just get a billing source.
Well, it would be a billing source. we could either go through a company and pay 20%, or we could do it in house.
Okay, what does it take to do it in-house?
It would take, I mean, Ms. Britton could do it, but would she be compensated for doing it? If you're going to pay them 20%, would she be compensated for doing it? That's the only question.
Okay, what do you think is
Fair?
fair for compensation for doing this? Okay, we can talk about it.
We gotta make
Okay.
sure it's not in violation of your contract, because if you collecting and getting a percentage.
Not a percentage. It wouldn't be a percentage, it'd just be.
Flat rate or whatever it
Exactly.
has to be, and so it's not.
Right.
violating
Right.
the
Right.
Statute.
So we'll talk about
So
that.
we can do that,
I mean, I think she deserves all the money in the world, but
But you're biased. All right. So to recap, well, before I recap here, was there any other revenue ideas that you had? I want to.
not right now.
Okay. The recap from the meeting is looking at old business, hiring of 2 full-time police officers, and the motion was to move forward. And at the next board meeting, that should be approved because we had a consensus. In new business, we had the hiring of 1 firefighter to replace the retiring firefighter, and that was approved in a phone consensus, so that should go okay at the next board meeting. We talked about the reduction of to get towards that 10% budget reduction that we're looking for. And out of that, we are actually looking to hire a second firefighter, which should be done at the next board meeting, September 17th. And we will talk about this billing. We'll talk about that over the week so that we could get that approved for the board meeting on the 17th. With that, any citizens address? I don't know if we have anybody want to say anything. We have no citizens here.
A
So,
motion to adjourn?
second. I got to call that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This board meeting is adjourned. Thank you.